Okay, let's jump into it. Just 20 past one. We've got about an hour or so till sort of Aussie CPI is coming out, so that's going to be the main focus for the Asia session. And then, of course, sort of later tonight, we've got a slew of data sort of coming out as well. Where are we at here? So, yeah, so as I said, look, this is a fairly steep drop off on CPI. Excuse me, 0.6% sort of drop off, and a sort of 0.4% quarter over quarter drop off. So yeah, if this comes in quite low, I imagine Aussie might cop a little bit of a hit. After that, we've got manufacturing PMI 1 hour later at 12:30, and then yeah, nothing sort of super substantial on that. We got German prelim PMIs, I suppose, but that's all day sort of stuff. That's not really anything of too much importance, at least to our markets. But tonight we got ADP at 12:15. We got some sort of employment costs quarter over quarter. I'm not sure too much how this is. It's marked as a sort of high impact, but I don't follow this one so much. And then, of course, the big one is FOMC, 6 o'clock, and really what people will be looking for is a press conference at 6:30, just to get a little bit more of an idea about sort of what's going to be happening in terms of the rate cuts and that moving forward, and looking for sort of whether they're sort of taking a bit more of a dovish approach or whether they're looking a little bit more hawkish with everything. But onto the charts quickly, we've got DXY still flying around, holding in there mainly. We did have this rising support. It sort of broke it early yesterday. This is on the open and obviously fired up through here, undid itself as it sort of popped down here. Just sort of like actually broke the lows, came down to the bottom side here. We saw a big push up on gold at the same time, and gold sort of I'll get onto in a moment, but that came up almost to that sort of 2050, I think 2048 it got to last night. We had the data out after that, which was the jolts. So we go back onto this quickly here, and where are we? Early hours, jolts here. This is a big push to the top side. We had consumer confidence as well, also beating expectations, moving up and beating expectations. Jolts was tipped to go down, actually. I didn't actually notice that. So we had, last one was revised up. It was tipped to sort of come down a little bit, but we are still seeing more job openings. And as such, we saw DXY really sort of push up and really hammer to the top side here. And with these sort of things, you saw sort of as I said, gold was pushing up on that sort of 2050 area, but then obviously got smacked on the nose, right back down. I think it sort of got down into the 20s. I'll just have to have a look in a second. But certainly it's interesting because US for a while there was getting some really sort of pretty bad data, average data. But more recently, they seem to be picking up, and they seem to be getting sort of positive USD strength data, but people are selling into it. As you can see, this is the movement here. This is on a 1 hour. So you can see, look, it was coming down here. They're selling it. The general direction for this sort of like path here was coming down like this. Is moving down. Data comes out, fires right back up to the top side, finds some sellers at the previous point, and then bang, sold into again. So these are not relevant for now. So yeah, it sort of seems that even though sort of we've got a bit of stuff coming up here, like sort of FOMC and that, of course we've still got NFP at the end of the week to finish it off as well. There's a little bit of selling going on every time they do get a little bit of sort of positive news. So that could be a sign of something to come. Pull this down here, see if anything sort of pops up and lines up there. Could potentially, if this were to be a channel, this is the fact that it's pulled away from it would mean that we're probably finding some sort of base through here. So I'd call this obviously not a full sort of area of support, but a short-term area of support. So I'm going to call it a little zone through here, and this is where we'd like to sort of see a breakdown underneath to sort of see a bit more of a continuation. If we do sort of start to come down here, then we can sort of look across to the previous areas where we've seen the buyers being. Exactly, this is a little bit of a zone down here, but of course the bottom side of this range is the main thing you want to see sort of taken out. So I expect even if we do come down, we'll be sort of finding some buyers around these zones here to sort of continue this up here. You're not going to get any major break. Everybody's just waiting for the FOMC. It seems like the last couple of weeks, all they've been doing is waiting. But certainly at the moment, it's looking like, any chance they have to sort of run it higher, they're knocking it on the nose. And obviously, sort of as you see, these sort of strong. I mean, look at the sell down here. This was coming down hard and heavy, and what did it do? Found buyers right on the point. That was the back test of the major, um, sort of major grind zone that we had for the week prior. But as it sort of hit that zone, bang, fires straight back up. So yeah, really just sideways at the moment. Into that sort of second grind through here. Potential for a next move to come out to the top side over here on some sort of, I wouldn't even say data because it's not really the data that's coming out. Like it's pretty much guaranteed. I would say it. Yeah, I don't like to work in absolutes, but they're not going to raise the rates and they're not going to cut the rates this time. So, yeah, if they do either of those, it'll be absolute mayhem. So I wouldn't say they're waiting for the data, they're waiting for the commentary more so. But I suppose at the same time, you still have NFP, you still have ADP, these kind of things. So, that's the data you'll be looking for. But really, I think the press conference is the main thing. So that's 6:30 tomorrow morning, local time. In here and now, we can see it's obviously sort of a little bit of a short-term downtrend channel. As I said just previously there, you want to see it come down underneath these sort of lows from overnight for a bit of a continuation. Down here, we are seeing the sort of like, even though it was trying to sort of rally back up here, we weren't seeing a lot of the sort of buying happening here. It's a small little negative divergence within the move here. Let's just put this, just sort of highlight a little bit more. As you can see, so this little push up, this little push up through here, you're seeing that obviously this wasn't matched coming through here. So this is when, and you can see this is because it's 1 hour, and 2, it's in the middle. It's not like right at the very top. You could almost sort of say that the move's already played out. But it's not like it's not a high time frame, and it's not at the top or the bottom end of the main sort of trend. It's just sort of within the trend, excuse me, kind of thing. So you could say that the fact that it didn't hold it is this move already. So it's already played out the point that this was a negative divergence. I don't think a 1 hour in the middle of the trend is enough to guarantee a sort of continual push in one direction, but certainly goes to show that this move wasn't going to hold, because you just didn't have that sort of buying sort of coming up at the same rate that the price was actually pushing up. So yeah, anyway, short term, you probably want to see it down the bottom here. We could probably say now that you've got a little bit of a range here now. We've got 2 touches up here, 2 touches down the bottom here. I would say more likely sort of favoring a continuation to the downside here, at least through Asia and Europe, Euro sessions. We have to sort of see possibly how that China data comes out. Obviously not part of the DXY, but it will affect sort of US dollar buying and risk sentiment across the market. But all in all, as you can see, we're really just in this sideways hustle. We've got our breakout points that we're looking for, confirmation points. We've got our inside range, and we've got some little zones just to work off on the inside there. But in the short term, it was trying to hold this. It didn't. This could be seen as a back test to the underside of this little short term or medium term, I suppose, rising support, and so obviously a little bit of a failure down here will be sort of confirmed on a lower low. Flip across, go to gold. Gold, we can see absolutely, and this is what I was saying, it hammered. It sort of came back very strong here. Look, we got the 10-year yields pushing up a little bit higher. Okay. Yeah, sort of pushed up very hard here, but just as equally smacked on the nose. So it seems to be a bit of the theme here, because we had this the other night as well, remember, sort of as it sort of came right up here and then boom, massive engulfing, and then sort of picked up here along again. So yields must be moving a little bit at the moment. So as you can see, very reminiscent, this move here replicated last night. We had a big drive up and then an even bigger I guess kind of engulfing sort of bearish reversal candle straight after. We had a little bit of a buy up, a second sell down, and then a push up. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if we can get up through this zone, because this is the one where we've seen the sellers have like to sort of be at. I mean, you can see how strong they sold it down from previously here. They allowed it to go through a little bit last night, where we pushed up to 40 around early Euro session, came back down, but as I said, it really flew up there sort of prior to that jolt starter. So people were sort of definitely, the market was definitely positioning themselves for probably some weaker data, which was the expectation. But obviously, this is what happens when the market's positioned in one direction and it shocks in the other direction. It sort of has this very hard and fast reaction coming down, the other way. So yeah, we've just got to sort of see if it can really sort of prove itself out here. But we are sort of definitely moving in this upward sort of trajectory here. We've moved away from this little rising support so far. So we can put like a little bit of a sort of push up over here. I would say if we do happen to break, so there we go, there's a little blue on the side. If we do happen to break this little short-term rising support, back to the main supports down over here, so 2030. 2030 seems to be quite a strong sort of swing point. We can see it marked out previously, time and time again. It was very hard to get on top of it, above it for a brief point, came to touch the top and then smack back down again. We can see now that it's above it. I mean, here's another one where it got sold down. Now that it's above it, it's loving to hold it. So I would say if we do get downside movement here, 2030 is the area that we want to hold. If you break this rising support through 29, then, I mean, we've got some littler zones, smaller ones, the 24s, and obviously the main bottom side one there is the 20. They're probably your sort of areas that you'd look for if you were shorting it for a little bit of a target. I'm not shorting it. But if you were looking to get long again, you could expect some probably bounces from these areas here, so around 25 or 20. But I think we're going to see almost a little bit of a repeat action here, sort of like push through. This is grinding a little bit more than this had previously. So you can see this was backed up by quite a fast movement again, and obviously sort of continued on. But yeah, we'll sort of see how we go through Asia session here. Certainly, it's looking like it wants to sort of come back up and complete this move back up to the 2057. It's just, it's still realistically in a very super choppy sideways kind of move. And again, it is going to be waiting for FOMC before it shows its hand as to sort of what they want to do with it in the short term. But the here and now, it's medium term, it's in an upward grind, and I would expect it to sort of maybe move up around that sort of 2040 area, 2046, and at least maybe give a touch up there with the body fill at 2046. Flip across, we got Aussie. So this is the one that we're looking at because we got CPI coming out soon. We got that nice break yesterday. I would have liked, as you can see here, you would have liked to see this continue up and sort of confirm some sort of channel. Obviously didn't. Bang, smack back down. Actually it got really hammered back into the very lows here, which frustrates the hell out of me because I've sort of I had my position. Well, I've got a couple of scattered positions, but I had one from 65.78 or something, and put the stop basically to even, and as you can see, came down here. I would have got hit by like 2 points or so. And sort of fired back up there. So, these are the things. It's sort of like you're in from down here. You held it. This is not my style. My style's in and out generally throughout the session. So, me trying to sort of do this and then have it sort of just repeatedly smashed on the fucking nose is really frustrating, to say the least. But anyway, we are sort of through a bit of this sort of falling resistance. Here, as you can see, this is the time for it to knock it down. It's come through. The thing with these though, even though yes, it is technically through this channel, it's just dribbled out the side. So this really sort of can ultimately lead to, particularly because we've got the CPI coming up now, if that comes in low, I mean, if that comes in below 3.7, Aussie is really going to get smacked hard. Mainly, US dollar buying and selling is what drives Aussie more so than our data. Our data tends to really just either magnify the move or sort of like subdue it if it's a sort of opposite to what the market's doing overall with the US dollar. But if we sort of get if we get a print below 3.7, which is a massive drop off, And you got to question how they actually sort of read these things, how they sort of record these things if we do get such another massive drop off, because that's going from like 5.6 down to, that would be 3.6 or less, 2% drop in 3 months or three prints. So, seems a bit iffy, but we'll see. So yeah, basically, as it's sort of come out the side of this sort of downward channel, it hasn't sort of like it tried to, as you can see, broke out here, retest, bang, higher high, came up here, but it's still just smacking into this area that we've got marked out. So we know sellers are around here, and they're just keeping it subdued. So, I mean, there was no reason for Aussie to run yesterday. We had retail data out that was very bad. And also the previous one was revised down as well. And with retail, so like the idea with this is that they'll put up the rates to curb people's. So I'm just going to turn this off because it's going to keep going off. Oh, going the other way. So we have, if look across to this quickly here, we're actually we're seeing they sell off coming down through here. Not looking so great for the old Aussie. Yeah, so the idea with it is that, realistically, they want to curb your spending habits. They want to make sure there's less money in the area, in the economy, because obviously that will mean less money being thrown around. Uh, you know, if you extrapolate it out, basically retailers will have to go, okay, look, I've got the inventory, I've got to make my levels to pay my bills, so I'll just cut the costs, and bring, instead of selling it for, $50, I'll sell it for $40 or whatever, just as an example. And if people keep spending, well, there's an argument that, okay, there's still too much money there, let's put the rates up a bit more. But obviously, this was the opposite of that. So so the spending came way down, and because the spending's down, it takes away the need to really push rates up higher because they're having their desired effect. So rates up, reduce spending, retail figures come out, it shows that it's working. This is why retail figures are important when you're looking at sort of what the central bank of any sort of economy is going to be sort of doing, to sort of like, in regards to what they may be doing with their upcoming rate decision. But again, for now, Aussie is really just not doing much. I mean, it's slightly coming up, I suppose, as you can see, slightly higher highs here. But I would dare say that the news coming out in a moment, in what have we got, sort of 50 minutes or so, 53 minutes, will come in low and Aussie will be pushed back down into this area here. There's a chance again that we see a little bit of buying happening over here because, as I said, like major breaks may not be happening till we sort of have this FOMC, but Aussie is still just trading very heavy. It's just it can't catch a break. We're seeing this was a very much look. If you see how big this range was here, I mean not as long as this last time, but if we go here, you can sort of see how long this was lasting. So this is 9 days for 1%. We've obviously sort of pushed up a little bit more here, but this main grind area that we're in now is 0.7% for 12 days. Jesus. It's very, very tight and very, very boring to trade, particularly if you're trying to hold it, which I have been doing. I mean, this is a trader's dream. This is in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, over and over, just keep printing money. But yeah, obviously, sort of like we're trying to sort of see a bit more of a sort of recovery move because you'll remember Aussie was just absolutely hammering through the last couple of months here. It's had quite a substantial push back down. Is this it? Is it dead here? Underneath here, well, it's kind of in trouble. Topside moves, you could be seeing a bit of a head and shoulders happening. But really, you just need to see that US dollar sell off. That's the only thing that's going to keep this alive at the moment because, with the retail figures coming in so weak, we've got CPI coming down. It's going to really take take away their argument for another rate hike, and that's really the only thing Aussie's got going for it at the moment. Okay, flip across copper. Copper actually fired overnight, so as you can see, if you zoom this in, bang, that's your price target. That's very much sort of what we were looking for here. And if you go back through my videos, and I'll put this onto the 4 hours so you can see it a little bit better. This is what we talk about. We came through this area, we broke out, retest, okay, came through. You could probably see better on the daily. But the point being is, I said, look, once we get past this this zone here, I expect a little bit of a back test. This was based on the fact that we've seen this happen previously. This is also the wicks from way back when, down over here. So maybe on the daily might show a bit better there. We can see these areas here. The bean resistance, bean resistance, bean resistance, bean support. I said, look, it's going to come back down here for a little sort of retest. This was our target. You can see the arrows are there, circles are there, price is met. So now you got to think where to. It's obviously fired up here. It's come into. It's only early in the session, so it could be just a little sort of a back wick thing here. We are pretty heavily overbought with it, and the RSI is sort of pinching together here. So I just have to point out again that these negative divergences, this is how good they can be, and you need them on the higher time frames if you're looking for the full turnarounds here, because from the bottom of this move here, we've seen this push up, 5.5%. And that's very much a big move here. So we're coming into the underside of this previous rising support, which obviously sort of gave way. We're coming into this well-known horizontal area here. So from here, we're not out of the woods yet. We want to see a strong close. A close above 3.95, I think will bode very well on a weekly basis. If it does fail, you're still in potential head and shoulders area, even though the shoulders are quite close to the head area here, or large range. There's a number of things. So you still want to keep on punching and sort of coming up the through here, because if we put it onto the weekly, I put a chart up on Twitter yesterday about this. If we can really hammer through and get a sort of close at 395 up, this gives us a 10-month bullish close. Well, it gives it a 10-month weekly close, but 10.5-month bullish weekly close, because obviously these closes down here, well, technically this one here, was very much a sort of a bearish thing, and we saw the reaction here. So if you can get a close at 395 plus, I'd say we're looking for a potential continuation of this new channel that it's formed. It's got the backing of the fact that it came through this falling resistance, it broke out, it retested the breakout level 2 times over, and if it's coming through now and keeps hammering up to the top side here, price target's at 410, where we can see obviously sellers were quite keen to sort of push it down, or sort of not let it go back above, sort of previously. So this is the area. You'd have the top of this potential channel coming through here. So I mean, this is on a weekly, so give it sort of 2 or 3 weeks. I don't really do timed sort of targets, but certainly sort of price level targets is what I'm looking at. I mean, it could go up and then dribble, bang, and then hit up over here. I don't know. But I'm saying that sort of there's a couple of things from a technical standpoint. If we get a decent close at 395 plus here, that could open the door up for a 410 test in the next couple of weeks at least, I'd say. So copper, very much sort of playing ball at the moment, which is going very well. So particularly while Aussie's sort of lagging, this seems to be something that's at least holding in the game. So we did see a little bit of a rejection as it came into this area. I mean, that's pretty much like Pippa 2. We've got a little bit of room to move here. This is on the 4 hour. We saw the daily's quite overboard, and the weekly has a little bit of room to move. So, it's not out of it yet. So we'll just sort of see what happens through. But I imagine probably a pretty quiet, maybe a deeper sort of pullback through Asia, and then an attempt to go through and retest these highs. Sort of this is on the 4 hour here, so possibly a sort of 396 test. Certainly you want to see where the weekly closes here. And we'll finally finish off with China. As you can see, China's sort of holding in there. As you can see, these are my little flight paths here where I thought we'd sort of come up here and reject down. I thought we'd come across here. We did get this little push down. This is great. Oh, there we go. Froze for a second. It is certainly holding up in this top area here. As it sort of came to push back up into this area, we're certainly not seeing any sort of real strength with this RSI. So, I still maintain this little down thing here, down trajectory, but obviously it's taking a little while longer to sort of get down underneath there. So this is the little area we can see that was sort of like, some buyers had valued it previously. We drag it right back, you can see it's a little zone here, little zone here. Buy Buyers were happy to take it up here. Sellers were happy to knock it down here. Buyers are happy to take it up here and here. Sellers clipped into it here. Buyers pushed into it here, and we're seeing buyers come back into it here again. So this isn't like, as I said, these zones in the middle. This isn't like a, you know, you know, the sellers are definitely going to hammer it down from here, but it's certainly an area within the main sort of ranges where we can see price sort of fluctuate and sort of swing from side to side. So I think sort of if we can get down under here and close under here, that'll sort of bode well for downside move here. On the flip side of that, we could see this potentially roll back up and sort of come out the top side here above sort of, call it 720 as a round number because we did have that wick up over that side over there. But yeah, a close up above sort of, 7197, I would say could be seeing it sort of see a little bit more US dollar buying against the yuan sort of moving forward. All right, cool. That's it from me.